Well, hello. This is Rochelle and welcome to my channel. Today I'm doing a page in Genesis and I'm working in Genesis 3 verse 20 with a printable by Ella Roetz. She is for the month of August, which is also the month in which Women's Day fall here in South Africa. She is working through the women in the Bible and her printables are just on par as always, and I've decided to use the Label It for this month as well in these dusty pinks that fit so beautifully with the name that is on that printable, Eve. And I'm kind of doing a monotone except for that very beautiful kind of petrol blue that is sticking out for this girl's dress. So I'm just going to be doing kind of a border with these labels, sort of layering but not quite, some just touching, and then cutting it off at the edge of the page so that some of them look like they are continuous on the page. And none of this has a very theoretical purpose necessarily. It's really just because it looks pretty. I love her labels. They are really super nice to use in pretty much any and every layout. I love keeping these to use them in my project life and all of those other projects as well. So they're very versatile, and I love this dusty pink color, so that is partly the reason why I used it. So instead of stenciling a background or collaging a background or stamping a background, today I just wanted kind of these labels as a part of my Eve printable. And in Genesis 3 verse 20, it speaks and it says, the man called his wife's name Eve because she was the mother of all living. And so I'm going to put that verse down on these labels because naming someone is pretty much, especially in the olden or in the biblical times, your name was a definition of who you were. So they prophesied greatly with giving names to their children, and obviously then Adam to Eve prophesied greatly. She was and is the mother of all living. So there's that. Stuck down my labels and then just figuring out how to layer these ephemera pieces. I did want to just cut out the little centers that my brother doesn't necessarily pick up. So with the brother scan and cut, obviously the function of it is to scan and cut. So that's why I love my brother scan and cut, in the sense that it scans. So if some of the other machines had a scanning function like this, I would probably go with another machine. But the brother, as far as I know, is the only one that scans like this. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm open to correction. But yeah, so because it scans, it obviously only looks at what you give it. There are no cut lines predefined or anything like that, so it's not necessarily going to cut out those little white spaces in between. You need to actually go set it so that it does. I'm still figuring that out. So in the meantime, I'm just using my craft knife and a small little self-healing mat that comes with a Fab Scraps trimmer, and I'm using that to then cut out the little white spots. Which, does it really matter? No. But is it fun? Yes. I just like knowing that it's there. So the white space is the same as my page's space. Getting back to Eve, the little card with this printable says, not only did Adam and Eve bring sin and death into the world, but Eve is the mother of the human race and represents God's promise to bring the one who would crush the head of the enemy or the devil and redeem humanity from sin. So everybody always looks at Eve and, goes, why did you bring this upon humanity? And yes, I mean, but I don't think I would be any different if I was Eve back in the garden, because the same things that she struggled with is things that we struggle with. So there's none better than another. I think we would have all probably been enticed by a false promise, such as what the enemy presented to her. So I'm just taking my pen and I'm going to be rewriting, well, firstly the verse onto my little labels, and then writing that little piece that's on the yellow card. I just didn't want, well, I didn't have space for the yellow card, and I didn't necessarily want that pop of yellow in this spot, so ended up just doing it in the way that I did it, writing directly onto the page. I am using a Faber-Castell Pitt Artist pen, and this pen has got India ink. It is permanent and waterproof, color fast, and it doesn't bleed, so that works for me. Well, with bleeding, remember to test all of your product in the back of your Bible. Your Bible might be slightly different to my Bible, so always test it. And then using the brush marker in the same color, just scribble it on my palette and add some water with a fan brush, and I did some splatters because splatters fixes everything. And then just underlining my verse, using that same brush marker to kind of stamp or ink up my date stamp, and then stamping the date at the bottom on one of those labels as well, and calling that a page. Thank you so much for joining me today. Really appreciate your support and your patronage, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.